What's up, guys? It's your boy Zach, host of The Aux, and you are about to listen to a clip from an episode from behind the paywall on AUXORO Premium. If you'd like to support independent creators like myself, you can go to auxoro.supercast.com for 3 hours of exclusive podcast content per month. We're bringing you episodes on exciting, sometimes twisted topics like COVID lab leak, MK Ultra, the obesity epidemic, Tom Cruise, Tim Dillon, no topic off limits. For less than $5 per month when you sign up for the year, head to auxoro.supercast.com today and become a premium subscriber. This is the best deal in premium podcasting. No ads, no half-assed episodes. We punch you in the mouth with 3 hours of exclusive content. Every month, go to auxoro.supercast.com to get knocked the fuck out with the hardest hitting episodes. auxoro.supercast.com. Without further ado, please enjoy this sneak preview clip from the AUXORO Premium Vault. Let's get right into it today. The first thing that is on the books, that is on the Google document, is an LGBTQ book burning. Apparently, there's some LGBTQ books that are burning. And this is an article from ABC News titled "Books Including Genderqueer Are Being Pulled from Schools, Sparking Controversy." A Virginia school board member called for burning books. So, do kids even read books these days? I don't know. If they are reading books, it's probably on a Kindle or it's probably on some app through TikTok that shows kids books in 15-second short-form video formats. Like if you want to read The Great Gatsby, there's probably some minute-long TikTok video that will give you everything that happens in The Great Gatsby through interpretive dance. So that's where we're at today in terms of media. So I don't know. I would have to ask my younger cousins if they read. I hope they do. I genuinely enjoy reading paperback books over the Kindle. That's just my preference. But let's get into it. So they're books including genderqueer being pulled from schools, sparking controversy. So the article says, this is from November 22nd, 2021. In pockets of the country's state education officials and local school boards are responding to complaints from some parents by removing books from schools and conducting widespread audits of school libraries to weed out texts inappropriate for students. But these efforts have sparked blowback from authors and advocacy experts. I don't know how you get to be an advocacy expert. How do you even have an expertise in advocacy other than just advocating for that thing? But this sparked blowback, which tend to target texts on culturally sensitive topics. They risk depriving certain students from reading books that reflect their own lives and enhance cultural literacy. In Northern Virginia, let's get to what actually happened. So a county school board member drew attention this week for suggesting a book centered on a 10-year-old boy who was sexually abused by an older man should be burned. Rabbi Ismail, a 24-year-old member of the Spotsylvania County School Board, argued in a board meeting Monday night that the inclusion of gay sex in the book 33 Snowfish by Adam Rapp, which had brought a complaint from one parent that night, disqualified it from being in school libraries. So this article doesn't say how old the kids are or what grade it is. I'm going to assume it's middle school or elementary school. That does make a big difference. 10-year-old boy, let's say these kids are between 10 and 13, so middle school. By this age, I was already searching around on the internet for nudes, for porn. 12 years old, I remember we had one computer in the house. I think my parents may have had laptops, but I definitely did not have a laptop, so I was in 8th grade. This is about, I want to say, what was I, 12, 7th, 8th grade, 12 years old. So assuming these kids are 12, if I were in the same position, this would be about 2005. So I had one computer in the house, and when my parents would be in the kitchen or even outside of the house before they got home from work, I would go home and I would search a lot of things on the computer, and some of those things would be porn related. So I was already looking at images of sex, or at least naked women. And the funny thing is that if you had a computer in your house back then, you know that the internet connection would be interrupted by phone calls. So I remember distinctly being pissed because I would be searching around shit on the computer and the phone would ring and a nude image would be buffering and loading, but my mom would be on the phone, so I'd be waiting for her to hang up until the image could fully load again. So I was searching for a lot of things on the internet. So it's not like my school was controlling my diet of content, and they certainly weren't censoring my diet of content. My parents tried to with parental locks, which worked somewhat, but if you did a quick search, you could figure out ways to get around that with incognito tabs or whatever, or going to your friend's house whose parents were more cool, who didn't have those parental guidelines or parental locks, whatever they were on your computer. But the point is that in 2005, I was looking on the internet for racy things, including sex. And I don't see why gay sex is any different. If you're looking at images of pornography, I don't think that straight sex or gay sex is any better or worse. They're all sex. And so if that was happening in 2005 with me and my friends, I can't imagine what access that kids have today on computers. I've seen 7-year-olds walking around with iPhone 12s with more storage and internet access than me as a 28-year-old. I've seen kids that are a quarter of my age running around with these pocket supercomputers, and you could search whatever the fuck you want. And even with parental controls, there are easy ways to get around that. I don't think that parents think that these parental controls work way better than they actually do, when in reality, every kid is searching for a way to get around that, or they're waiting to go to their friend's house. So it's not really doing too much. What definitely is not happening is that kids are not seeking out, kids are not being deterred from seeking out images of sex or stories about sex because their library doesn't have a book on it. One thing's for sure, it's that libraries and physical books are not determining teenagers and even younger kids' content diets today. It is not. You're seeing basically half-naked people, almost fully naked people on TikTok, on Twitter. If you let your kid watch videos on any sort of platform like TikTok, you are giving them a space into which they are seeing things that are worse than reading a book about gay sex. Again, this is a book describing sex. This is not even sexual images. So I don't get the fiery pushback from having a book, and again, this is not required reading. This is a book that is present in a library with, I assume, thousands of other books that a kid would have to go up and take out to be able to read what's going on. And ironically, this article and other articles in the media, because there are a dozen different articles that I could have chosen from to go through this issue, this will make more kids want to check out a book like this, because they will probably see it on some person making a video on TikTok about this, or posting about it on Instagram, and they see their book, Spotsylvania, they'll see their school is in the news, and it's like the Streisand effect, that if you make something off limits publicly, you then attract more people to do the thing that you want it to be off limits. So I'm sure there's a line out the door with these kids trying to read about butt fucking. I don't know what's in this book. Some gay sex, to say the least. So the article goes on to say, I guess we live in a world now where our public schools would rather have kids read about gay pornography than Christ. Isn't Jesus Christ a little gay? Like every time you see Jesus Christ, he's on the cross half naked. He's absolutely ripped. Which I have to say, gay dudes are definitely more on top of their physical fitness than the average straight dude. If I want to feel bad about my body, all I have to do is walk around the West Village, and I will then not eat for 3 days because every dude walking around there has a fucking 8-pack. And so if you don't want your kids to read about gay pornography, is it any better to have them reading the Bible where actual gay people are discriminated against, or other religious texts where it distinctly says that gay people should not exist, and other religious groups around the world burning gay people alive and throwing them off of buildings? Is religion really better than gay pornography? I don't know. If I had the choice between my kid searching Muslim on or searching something related to the Taliban or Muslim, something religious, even Christianity, on YouTube, and searching the terms that came up in this book, 33 Snowfish, whatever they were, I would rather take my chances with my kid being exposed to the text in 33 Snowfish. I don't know how vulgar it is, but the book's called 33 Snowfish, so I don't know how intense it gets. Even if it gets intense, there are holes of the internet that are so much more traumatic and disturbing, that are rooted in religion. And to a kid, if the choice is between those types of videos and gay pornography, they might be less scarred by reading or watching gay pornography. I'm not saying show your kid gay porn, obviously, but it's funny. I think it's funny this guy says, we live in a world now where our public schools would rather have kids read about gay pornography than Christ, because we know that Jesus Christ and the Catholic religion, and I say this as a Catholic, is the ultimate arbiter of justice for gay people. That is something that has always been true, is that if you want to look to how to treat gay people and people of that are different than you and different sexualities, to instead of showing them gay pornography, turn them to the Bible, because that will really show you how gay people deserve to be treated, according to Abbas Smale. This person then goes on to say, I don't want to see them, 33 Snowfish. I think they should be thrown in the fire. So, I mean, at least if you get rid of a book, if you just throw it away, you're not getting any value out of it. But at least if you toss a book in a fire, you could create some sort of bonfire, and bonfires bring people together. So you're not just tossing a book in the trash. That's probably, maybe worse for the environment. Why not burn the pages or even roll them into a joint? I think this parent, instead of throwing them into the fire, they should teach their kids how to smoke weed by using the pages of this book to roll a joint. And then when their kids get really high, then they will be more open-minded. They will have more conversations that include the inclusion of gay sex. And it won't take another 10 years for them to be exposed to it, because then they'll talk about it when they're high and maybe read 33 Snowfish and have some far out discussion about the book. That might even be better. I think that they should burn a few pages of this book by rolling these kids' joints, have them smoke it, and then read the rest of it when they're high as fuck, and they can have some sort of intellectual, teenage-minded discussion about it. The board voted unanimously to conduct audits of each school's library, vowing to weed out, I didn't plan that, vowing to weed out sexually explicit books. What is this book? So I have a summary of the book up here. Let me see. Okay. Oh, I thought I had a summary. Oh, I do. So 33 Snowfish summary. 33 Snowfish follows the character of Custis, a 10-year-old orphan living with his owner, quote-unquote owner, Bob Motley, who sexually abuses him in a dilapidated house in Rockdale, Illinois. After overhearing that he was to star in a snuff movie, Custis steals a small pistol and escapes through a hole in the wall. While hiding from Motley's crew and begging for quarters in a video arcade in Jolie Mall, Custis spots Bobby, a strange boy with black eyes and a single painted fingernail. Custis decides to follow Bobby into the Crazy Lou's Woods, a private woodland supposedly owned by ex-military cat farmer. Custis and Bobby soon become friends. Having no home, and Bobby also having no home, who has an unstable relationship with his parents, they set up a makeshift home in the woods with a tent and steal electricity from a nearby paper factory. All right, so I mean, if you're setting up a home in the woods and you're staying with your friend as a teenager, that is Brokeback Mountain-ish, and I'm sure that there are some sexually explicit gay things, gay sexual acts that happen in the book, which is not any different from a kid finding text of that online, or even worse, in this case, according to these parents, or this parent in particular, if reading about gay sex is terrible, then seeing it online would be even worse. And again, the content diet of a child and a teenager is not being determined by what's in the library. I couldn't tell you 4 books in my library when I was between the ages of 10 to 15 years old. I didn't start getting excited by books because the books that we were force-fed in school just weren't what I want to read, like many other people. I didn't start getting excited about books until after I graduated college, because everything that I read up until that point had been mandated for me to read. And because I was being forced to read it, I didn't want to read it. I just stopped reading altogether for a long time. And ironically, by these parents telling these kids, you have to read these books instead, they'll probably light a fire, no pun intended, within these kids to read books that explore more of this content that has sexually explicit gay acts in it. And I don't see the logic here. There's a fallacy in our society today, which is that not exposing someone to something dangerous puts them in less danger. We think that if we don't expose someone to something dangerous or something explicit, that person will be in less danger. We equate less dangerous situations with being in less danger, and that is not true. That is not true at all. It is good to be exposed to things and ideas when you are younger that have some element of danger, that are dangerous, a little bit dangerous, so that you can develop a little dangerousness within yourself, and you can use those skills to actually make yourself and others in less danger. So, for example, if I started taking Muay Thai when I was, let's say, 10 years old instead of 27. So if I was 10 years old and I was in Muay Thai, I would be exposed to something that is dangerous. You are striking people in the head. You are kicking people in the body, kneeing them. There's a dangerous aspect to physical violence. And as a result of me learning how to be in dangerous situations and how to create danger myself, I am actually putting myself and others that I care about and that I'm with in less danger, because I'm then building skills. I'm learning to talk about it. And do it, and there's a back and forth physical exchange. And I believe the same thing applies to ideas. That if you, I'm not saying, tell your 6-year-old about gay sex or straight sex for that matter, but I think if you're between, if you're 10 years old, 12 years old, I think you're old enough to be exposed to some of those ideas through speech and text. I'm not saying show it, because probably see that on TikTok anyway, but I'm saying if you expose your kid to the quote unquote off limits or more dangerous ideas, you are allowing your kid to formulate certain thinking patterns and arguments and ideas in their brain and in their head, and allow them to think for themselves, so that when they encounter other dangerous ideas in the future, and any ideas in the future for that matter, they are able to form an argument and choose for themselves. But when you choose what you do allow and what you don't allow a young adult to encounter, you are cutting off their ability to develop intellectually. And so I think you can actually, like you would give your kids a physical dose of something dangerous at a young age that they can handle, the same thing should be applied to ideas, that you can give your kid a taste of an off limits or an explicit or just a more mature idea, and they may be better off for it and able to think more for themselves, because you haven't told them how to think or told them how not to think or told them what they're allowed to do intellectually, or made something off limits for them intellectually, but they can digest it in bits that are appropriate for their age, which I'd argue that, at this point in middle school, reading about gay sex is nothing that this kid has not been exposed to before. It's probably the least explicit thing that this kid has seen this week with all the fucked up shit going on in the world. I think that's good. And if I'm being honest, I grew up with an age of television and movies where there wasn't a lot of gay sex in media. There was not a lot of gay sex in film. There's still not. There's not a lot of gay sex in TV. And so as a result, I grew up with only being exposed to straight images, straight sexual images, and straight sexual storylines. So rom-coms with a man and a woman, and making out on screen between a man and a woman. And that definitely formulated my ideas, not to be homophobic or anything, but just to expect that that's the norm, the not just statistically the norm, which it is. Most people are straight. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying just like it built up an expectation to where this is the normal way for someone to act, just because this is the only thing that's being shown to me. And then 6 months ago, I watched the entire show Sex Education with my girlfriend, that has a lot of gay sex in it and gay acts, guys making out, and it's not shown to you in a way where it's like, look at us, we're being cool because we're showing gay people making out. We're breaking boundaries because there's gay people on screen. It didn't feel like that. It felt like these were genuine interactions between high schoolers that were guys and girls on screen making out or showing what they could sexually. These were all actors over the age of 18, but they were playing people in high school. This is what normally happens. And it was the same thing that I would see in a show like One Tree Hill, the same under the cover sex or, passionate making out. the conversation was more explicit. There's definitely a lot more sexual talk, but it was the same thing that I was exposed to when I was younger, but it also included gay people. And it was a little bit jarring at first because I wasn't used to seeing gay people on screen making out in movies or in mainstream TV shows. It wasn't something I was against, but it just wasn't something I was exposed to from a young age. So I think it may actually be a good thing to get small doses of ideas and actions that are not of your orientation when you're younger, so you don't expect that the world only looks like what you look like and what you do. Because it would have been less jarring if maybe a show like Sex Education was around when I was in high school, and I really enjoyed that show. I think it's a great show. So I don't think 33 Snowfish should be burned. If it is burned, I think they should use it to get high as fuck and talk about the book.